All right. So, today we are in good old Pennsylvania, just crawling through, making our way towards good old New England, New Jersey specifically, which is wonderful. I know a lot of people whine about the East Coast in general. They're like, oh, I don't even want to go. But I don't know. To me, it's good miles in between there and wherever you're coming from. Typically speaking, unless you're like Pennsylvania to East Coast, that would suck. Anyways, it's not really the point. Tomorrow marks 2 years. 2 years of doing this right here, driving truck. January 14th was the day that I showed up for orientation at the company that I'm still at today, no less, which is kind of, like, I didn't really think that was going to be the case, but here we are, 2 years later, still at the same company, which is kind of a good thing, actually. I don't know. I think that it's a good thing to have, like, on a resume or whatever. But also, if it was a bad company, I would have left already. You know, like, it's not worth enduring a really bad situation just to have your resume look good. I don't know. But, yeah, 2 years. And if I could tell you something, it does not feel like 2 years have gone past. It does not feel like that at all. I still feel like it's only been like 6 months, 8 months. I don't know. I don't know why, but like when I look back over the length of time that I've been doing this, it's like, it doesn't feel like that long, but then you actually think about it and you're like, oh my goodness, like time has passed. It's come and gone. And also, full disclosure, this is the longest period that I think I've ever held a job. Like, one single job. I think maybe there's an exception, but, I mean, I don't know. For me, 2 years is a long time to hold one job. Like, same company, same industry, all of that. It used to be like I was just going from here to there and seeing what was going on, and if it was something that was interesting to me, and I guess I found what I liked at the end of the day, which is great. But yeah, over the course of 2 dang years, in my mind, there's like two thought processes in my mind. Part of me says, like, oh, you're, and we're going to put this in big old quotations, an experienced driver. Like, you know, this is going to be my second winter, which doesn't mean much of anything because it's not like I've been running west over the Rockies. I've not been, down south when they get, pretty good amounts of snow, all that stuff. I don't know how it happens, but my company somehow, like, it might just be complete coincidence that somehow, some way, I'm like kept out of the way of like bad weather. I don't know if they could even plan something like that, or if that's like, if it is just a coincidence, but it certainly seems like it. Perfect example of this, last night, St. Louis, Missouri basically got destroyed by the snowstorm, whatever the hell they called it. I don't know what they called it. Doesn't matter. It just got wrecked, and there was like 300 accidents or something like that. I can't even remember the number, but there was a lot of accidents. And earlier this week, I was in Missouri. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, I went down through Missouri and back up through Missouri. And now I'm like basically going right across the top of this snowstorm on 80, no less. So, and I mean, for people that don't know, 80 is like, I guess you can speak for Ohio. I don't really know Pennsylvania does it as well as Ohio does it, but Ohio is the GOAT as far as taking care of their highway. Like, they will run like 3 plow trucks wide. You know, they just got the salt sprayers going right behind there. Like, it's pretty reasonable conditions. Like, I've even gone through there in like pretty decent snowstorms, but it's still like, you could still do it. Sometimes it's not worth it though, and I've had to do that, be like, it's just not worth it. But anyways, yeah, over the course of 2 years, I wanted to say like, like I have some sort of experience, but in my mind, on the other half of my mind, I'm like, you still don't know anything, dude. Like, you kind of know what's going on, and to be fair to myself, I do like pay attention to like what other drivers are doing and like what they're saying. I'm involved with a lot of like stuff online where people are talking about the industry, and it's like basically unfiltered. Like, you know how the internet is, they just go off on anything, and I kind of pay attention to stuff like that. And I mean, some of it is nonsense, but you know, some of it has some merit to it. But yeah, I still, like, even though I know like how the industry operates at a very basic level, like, I've never been there myself, like sitting in those shoes, like, I have like tried to own and operate my own truck. Like, I understand how you would go about doing that. That's what I'm saying. But I've never been there. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm like, I understand the industry at a basic level, but I just have never been there. But yeah, man, I mean, you'd think a guy would have more stories about 2 years on the road, and you would think at this point I would be like, you know, maybe it's time to like find a local job or something, like be a normal person or whatever. But and I think maybe I've said this before, probably not, but maybe, for whatever reason, and I think that if there are other drivers watching this, they could probably attest to this, is like when you're, and I'll just explain my point of view before I go into it, as a single 23-year-old dude that really doesn't have anything to go running home for in particular, like, I've got stuff that I like at home, but it does not, you know, it's not able to talk to me like, I miss you. So I don't know, maybe my my view is a little slanted, but like the first couple of days that you're gone is like, like getting back into the swing of things. And I found that once you lose track of how many days you've been on the road, that's when it gets easy and you don't even think about it, and there's no like loneliness about it. Like, people always say, like, or they always ask, like, don't you get lonely, like, just running around, like, no one that you know around you, and you know, you're just by yourself, it's just you? And the answer is no, not typically. And I mean, technology helps with that. I can still stay in contact with pretty much anyone. Like, my mom calls me like once every 2 days or whatever, and you know, I'm just cruising down the road having a conversation. You know, Snapchat friends all the time, FaceTime friends all the time. Like, there's really no loneliness about it. I don't know. It's a strange thing, and I don't feel the need to be home more often than I am. I don't know. I feel like if I had more variety in like where I go and like what I haul and stuff like that, it would probably help me to like stay out even longer. Like if I just didn't think about it or whatever. But generally speaking, I try to line up like what's going on at home with when I go home. Like I just kind of pick and choose. Like, like this is more important to me to be back for that than it is to be back for that. So I pick the other one. You know what I mean? And another thing about the size of the United States. Like, okay, this is for people who have never done this job. You know, they're just like, oh my god, like you're like well traveled like a mother, and you know, it's got to be like, you know, seeing different stuff all the time and all this, you know, all kinds of stuff. Now, after 2 years of being out here, I have a reasonable idea of what's going on, like as far as like what the country looks like. Like if I pull out a map and I just start like looking around on the map, like, oh, like that's where, you know, all this stuff is and all that stuff is, like I can kind of piece together like what certain areas look like and all that. And the United States is like, it doesn't seem that big anymore, strangely enough. But it's still it's massive. I don't know what it is coast to coast, but it's like well over 2,000 miles, which is, yeah, 2,000 miles, over 2,500 miles? I don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty dang good distance. Like, perfect example, going from Wisconsin to Texas like I did last week, that's 1,000 miles. So it's like 1,000 miles up and down, over 1,000 miles up and down. And then side to side, you're talking, well, yeah, longitude, latitude, whatever. You can get as fancy as you want, but yeah, there's just a lot of dang space. But if for whatever reason, it has shrunk down in my mind to being, you know, not such a big thing. And like, I don't know what it is, but like just knowing what's out here now is like kind of interesting. Like thinking back to before, where it was like, if I left like my little 100-mile radius of where I grew up and lived, I was like, where the hell am I? Like, it was just so strange to leave that area. But now it's like, if you gave me a map and that's it, you know, I mean, you could do this even if you'd never driven before, but I could literally look at a map and like, you know, just plot my whole little route or whatever to take from one place to the other, and like pretty much know in my mind what it's going to look like beforehand. Now granted, there are some interstates, roads, whatever, that I've just never been on. And I mean, that is something that sort of sucks. Like, I'd really like to see every road in the United States, but I know that it's not possible. I think it'd be fun. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a practical thing at the end of the day. The one that sticks out in my mind is like, I've been through Montana a couple of times, but one time that I went through there, I was routed down like a back road that went through a national forest, and it was pretty. It was real pretty. You know, I mean, I was empty at the time, so it was really nice to just like relax about it. And this was a couple of months ago, so it wasn't snowing either. So I was just like, you know, just chilling, just driving through here, enjoying the little windy roads and checking out the mountains and all of this. So it was kind of cool. No. Okay, yeah, 15 minutes. This is pretty long at this point. But yeah, 2 dang years. It's a strange thing. People say that time flies, and it really freaking does. Like, they say, oh, time flies when you're having fun or whatever. And somehow, on my own, I guess I've been having a ball. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. Honestly, it's an interesting thing. Like, I think I made a video. Well, actually, this was like in the beginning of like making YouTube videos, but I was like, yeah, I could totally see myself doing this for years and years and years, and it still rings true. Like I just could not. It would be very difficult for me to go back to being normal and having a normal, 7 to 5 job or whatever it would be. It wouldn't matter. Like, it would just be very, very difficult because I understand how like easy and wonderful this life is right here. And I think I've said this one before, but it literally seems like I've been on vacation for 2 years, and somehow, some way, I just get a paycheck that shows up in my account every week. That's a pretty good explanation of how I feel. I mean, yeah, sometimes you gotta do some stuff you don't want to do, like go to New Jersey, or, do tarps when it's windy and snowing, or windy and raining and cold and all this stuff. But it's still, like, part of the experience at the end of the day. Like, that's how I think of it. It's like, it's not like a punishment or something. It's just like, oh, I did that, and looking back on it, it's fun. Like, I don't know, it's a strange thing. Like, when you're going through it and it sucks, those are always the best times when you look back at it. Sometimes not so much, but other times, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, 2 years. There it is. Come and gone. And yeah, we'll see what happens in another 2 years, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna get the heck out of here, keep crawling through Pennsylvania, and y'all have yourself a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.